Hi everyone, Nitin Singh. I'm part of Industry Value Advisory Team, Senior Principal there. I've been with this company for now 18 years, started my career in consulting like many of you. Moved on to do something with product management, was part of the office of CTO for a while when we were launching HANA way back in 2010. Then I joined Business Transformation Services, where I worked for 6 years to work as a business transformation lead to orchestrate the last transformation, and then joined Value Advisory Team about 4 years back. My role now is that our team focuses on creating a case for change. So many of our customers are seeing the value they could realize potentially from cloud and AI and others innovations. But what does that mean in terms of dollar? And how do you quantify that? So that's what our team specializes in. And that's something which we always wonder that where does that fit into the overall umbrella, right? So the enterprise architecture framework, which you have seen multiple times. So I'm going to focus on the upstream portion of it, the business strategy, business model, and how does that connect with the capability model? So why should a customer change, or you should change? And if you were to do that, what's the value in it for you? So let's start with why change, first of all. I think we are living in a very different world. If you see last 10 years, we have seen so many disruption. We had COVID, we had supply chain disruption, we had inflation, we had hiring crunch, and many more such challenges which we had encountered. So all of us needs to be more agile. We need to ensure that we are working off an operating model which we could pivot quickly. And if you were to do that, there's a huge opportunity out there. So there's a new business models coming up every day. Many new companies are coming in. And McKinsey did a study that how much the potential value is supposed to be gained by these disruptions, because these disruptions also offer uncertainty that offers opportunities to create a new offering or new business models. And approximately $3 trillion value is there to attain. The issue is how much of that value is actually attained. So I'll ask a question to you. How many of you have created business case for a big transformation by raising your hands? Perfect, yeah. Few of us. And how many of you have actually worked on a project to measure the value you have realized from the business case using a baseline? Done that? Yeah. So you can see that this shows that I think we start with a business case, but oftentimes it is ignored when we go to the next cycle, right? And that's where this $3 trillion, which you're seeing here, is being lost. So let's figure out what can we do to ensure that all of us are realizing value from technology innovations. So AI is great, Gen AI is great, S4HANA is great, but unless you have the value mindset, unless you have the cloud mindset, most of that value is lost, right? And that's where our team focuses on. So just to be a little bit counterintuitive, I wanted to start from learning. So before we go to the framework itself, so what's the learning we have seen on the market, right, based on our experience? So we do hundreds of engagements, and based on those engagements, what we have seen is, number one is simple is beautiful. So our team works for several CXOs, head of finance, head of business, CSCO, CFO, and CIO. And what we have seen is it's about articulating the message simply. Unless you have your objective, which is simple enough for everyone to understand and comprehend, they would not be passionate enough to invest in that specific exercise, right? You won't invest in anything in which you do not understand. So that's a key message. The second is, I think is very important. You need to find insights that matters, right? What are the challenges which are truly worth solving for? So we are living in a complex world. Our landscape are complex, our processes are complex. And that means that you can think about solving all of those 1,000 challenges and get lost in details, versus find those 5 or 10 things which really matter for you. So that's where the importance come in, and that's where the context, as you see, is the king and queen. So understanding the context where we are coming from is the key. The second is be open-minded. So I think that's where I could give you an example. So I was working with a life sciences company, and we were on an exercise to see that how we can save productivity. So we did exercise, we ran some tools. We figured out the customer had PO automation rate of 0%, right? So normal reaction to that would be, why don't we use RPA and just automate the PO, right, and save a lot of costs? So that customer's operating model was, they used to issue thousands of orders every day because they had to, in a very real-time scenario, and they had to ensure that they are spending less time on that effort. Then we figured out, we started going upstream, that why do you have your PO automation rate just at 0%? Is it the PO itself has missing data? Is it PR, purchase requisition, which is the source document, which is there's some problem there? Or do you not have a capability to convert purchase requisition to purchase order in an automated way, right? We went through all of these. We figured out that's not an issue. The issue is then we started inquiring more. We found out that the buyers did not trust the planning data. The reason was they had some bad experiences, and their planning was antiquated. They were doing a good enough job, but once they had bad experience, they stopped trusting that data and started doing everything manually, right? So I'm pretty sure many of you would have seen experiences the same issue. So it's not about solving that automation problem by applying RPA, it's finding about the root cause. So once you know the root cause, we went to the planning department, understood what their challenges are, why they are not able to grasp the real-time demand signal and be able to use that in their planning and be able to hand it over to the MRP so that they can execute it and make your purchase automation process as close to real. So that's a pretty intuitive, not intuitive, but it's a pretty good example of showing that why we need to keep our minds open. It's not about solving a problem just by looking at it and see the automation rate is poor, apply RPA. That's not a solution. Solution is finding the root cause of it, right? So that's definitely the key. And oftentimes the root cause is not in thousands. So your problems could be in thousands, root cause could be in tens. And that's what we are after, right? So that's what we want to know here. The third is connecting the process performance with enterprise performance. Now, the same example I gave you, that PO automation rate as 0%, what does that mean for a customer? So we need to find a seamless thread which can connect the inefficiencies in the way you are executing your processes and operations. Is that translating into a value loss for your company, right? So that's where we have done some analysis, and we'll show you some examples there. And of course, impact comes from storytelling. If you start telling stories and examples, that gets more attention, and that's what customers, CXOs, they care about. I think enterprise architecture is a domain which is pretty. I mean, if people are not aware of that, not passionate about that, they could become boring, right? But if you start combining that with the storytelling, that's one of the most powerful framework to execute the transformation. And last but not the least is it's about incrementality. So we'll discuss more on that when I come to that slide. So in today's session, I plan to touch upon a little bit on business model and operating model from the business strategy perspective. Followed that by what's solving. So we discuss a little bit that as part of example. What's the best practices and approach we are using to do that. The third is, how do we connect the dot between enterprise performance and process performance? So once you know what you want to solve, that what you are solving, how does that impact your overall organization goals? That linkage is very important. Then we come to the value of the transformation itself. So we are going to touch upon a flywheel model, which we have created recently. The next is what's in it for you, right? So how does that matter to you, right? If you have a value, what does that mean in terms of process, and how do you measure that value? And then I'm going to conclude. So let's start on the first one. So operating model. So this is an example from a customer where we were working to see that can we create their operating model in one page and be able to highlight the areas which matter. In enterprise architecture, prioritization is a key. So you all are aware of core capabilities versus differentiated capabilities. At the same time, which are the capabilities which are worth solving for, as I said before. So in this one pager, we sort of started putting a framework for this manufacturing company that how their bread and butter is be able to create a planning and be able to execute that planning based on manufacturing, and then be able to deliver that goods to the customer. If you take end-to-end process, we put everything into one slide here. But what you see here, different here, is we started highlighting some of the benchmark and some of the data points which are in red. and start highlighting capabilities which are in red. So this shows in one page that from the customer's operating model, which are the areas to look at. So rather than solving all the 50 problems which you see in the slide, we focused on solving for financial close, margin analysis, purchase order process, cost of manufacturing, right? And this is based on the benchmarking analysis we do. So we also do benchmarking analysis, figuring out which of the capabilities matter to you, and how do you compare on those capabilities against your peers, right? Which is important for your industry. So that is being shown in the red color here. So that actually gave us the prioritization. Then once we have done that, you know that where the issues are and how could potentially find that out. Then the second is how do you find about what's the issue which is worth solving for. So another example here, so I was working with a large manufacturer. So they were creating big sub-assemblies, big assembly, right, big generator and motors. We were trying to find out that where the efficiency are. So their cost of manufacturing was through the roof, and they were looking to optimize. How can we do that? We started taking a walk on their plant. And as we were walking in the plant, I noticed that in their staging area, there are big sub-assemblies are lying there. And just by curiosity, I just asked why this sub-assembly is here. Then we found a production supervisor, and he answered that, we are missing a part here. I said, okay. And then we found another sub-assembly. We asked the same question. It was same part, which was missing. And we found probably 8 sub-assemblies, all waiting for the exact same part. Then we started finding out what happened here. Why did we not order that part in advance? So we figured out that their MRP run used to happen weekly. And the last run, they missed out ordering for that part. And because they missed out ordering for that part, supplier shipped those parts to someone else. Now they are out of stock, and they are ordering someone else. I think many of you would have seen this problem. So not having a real-time MRP was impacting their operation in a way that 10 of these sub-assemblies, each of them would be probably 500K worth of inventory. So 5 million worth of inventory is sitting idle on their plant because they're all missing one part, because they couldn't get to order that part because their MRP used to run weekly. And not only that, that inventory carry costs, which they're carrying on top of that, they're not able to ship to the customer and recognize revenue. Not only that, because their order is delayed now, so they're going to do expedited shipment. So they're going to ship that part in an expedited fashion by paying additional to the transportation provider. So you are not, on one hand, you are paying more. Your delivery is late. Customer is not happy. You couldn't recognize revenue, and you are having high inventory carry costs. So you could see the multitude of problems are coming just because of that specific problem, right? So that was something which we went after in the very first phase, because that's a problem worth solving for. Another example of a food delivery company, we were working on creating an overall operating model for that company. And we figured out their business model is about, because the shelf life was a big concern. So they used to take the order, ship it on the same day to all of their franchisee stores so that they can get the raw materials quickly without having any spillage or without having any issues with the compliance of it, right? They had some compliance within 24 hours. If they're creating a fresh good, it should be in the store. And for them, the key process to focus was the delivery. That's where they were focusing on. As soon as they received the order, they need to quickly deliver it out. So that's how we figured out which is the key area where we need to focus on. And from the architecture perspective, that's where we focused on solving that for first, right? And then we started combining this operating model with the system view and try to simplify the whole thing. Now, you find out what is worth solving for, what your operating model is. Now comes the dollar question, that what if you could solve that problem, what does that mean in terms of getting the value from your technology, for whatever you want to do? So that's where enterprise performance and process performance view come into picture. So what we did, our team worked with Signavio team, we together partner and created a view which is, we call it combination of top-down view with a bottom-up view. You see on the top-hand side, that's inverted triangle. That is all the KPIs and the high-level priorities from a company which they care about. What are the key matrices? On the bottoms up, there are various processes you run an ERP process, right? So if you have ME22 and FP01, VA01, what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of on-time delivery, or what does it mean in terms of financial close? So making a transaction efficient, would it have any impact on my enterprise performance or not? So that's what we were after. So we actually combined these two views together, top-down with the bottom-up, to highlight that if there's an example here, which I'm showing here, is on-time delivery. On-time delivery could be impacted by various parameters. It could be your order cycle time, it could be your order to delivery cycle time, or it could be delivery to goods issue cycle time. So for a specific customer, which example I'm giving here is, their key issue was on the order cycle times. They were pretty good in delivery, right? Once you have order confirmed, they could deliver everything in a day. So that's not an area we were looking for. So once we started inquiring what the issue is, so sales schedule lines not getting confirmed, that's a PPI, process performance indicator we got from Signavio tool. And we started drilling it down there and figured out that it was about not having an ATP functionality, which was impacting this. And if you were to solve that ATP problem, their on-time delivery percentage would improve at least by 5%. And that's going to get additional revenue, they're going to get faster revenue, and we could connect the dot all the way through. And all of this, this combination, right, top down and bottoms up, that's where the magic happens. And we need to find those insights so that we can quantify the benefit of what you're doing here. And by the way, this is an idea which also got shortlisted into our Hustle Partners Founders Award, which is here on the right-hand side. This team from Value Advisory and Signavio, if you are here, they were part of that top 3 go-to-market finalists. The next is, with Signavio analysis, you can do even a lot more. It's not only about finding the indicators and the value. It's also about when you are going through an implementation process of S4HANA. You can use it as a real-time tracker to see that which are the processes where your manual efforts are high. You see on the right-hand side the table, you see various processes, manual efforts, and number of users. So if you're looking for a productivity gain, it's not only about manual efforts percentage, it's also about how many people are using or how many users are using that process. If you're doing a financial close process just with one person and manual efforts is 100%, versus you are doing an order management process, which is 50% manual, but there are 1,000 people doing that. So user multiplied by effort is higher in order management. You would solve that problem if you want to solve for productivity, right? So that view becomes very important. Not only that, we combine that view with industry popularity. So as you know that there is always industry-specific nuances. For certain industries, specific processes are more important than other processes. And for that, we combine this view with industry usage intensity, right? So if you can bring in the industry sort of view in that manual effort process, it creates a really nice visual. And by the way, when we show this slide to one of our customers, CIO's comment was that this is a new SAP that showed up. This is exactly what I want to do with my business. I want to see in real time where my manual efforts and users are, and how can I improve productivity in a continuous manner. This is one screenshot of where we are showing the bottoms-up insight, which is on the left-hand side. Coming to the VLM tool, Value Lifecycle Manager, this is our tool which actually has a top-down insight in terms of it has all the higher-level KPIs which our customers can orchestrate. So this view combines, so in the tool, we are combining these two views now, Value Lifecycle Manager with SAP Signavio Process Insights. So you would have heard about Signavio Process Insight in yesterday's session or day before with chat. And that now can be combined with Value Lifecycle Manager to give you the right-hand side, which is basically the benefit potential can be calculated automatically by the tool. So this is pretty powerful to get started on your business case exercise. Now, we have covered operating model, we have covered what's worth solving for, and how do you connect what's worth solving for with your enterprise performance. Now it comes to the deployment, that should you deploy in cloud or on-premise. So we created a model called flywheel model. So this is about, the term has taken from Good to Great by Jim Collins. I'm not sure how many of you have read it. So this is about how simplified IT operating model with cloud. How does that unlock IT productivity? Now, rather than IT solving for day-to-day issues, they could now focus on adopting innovations, becoming a strategic partner to the business. The term flywheel is, if I give you an analogy, imagine a 500 feet light flywheel and you are pushing it. So what matters is incremental effort. So you push it one time, it won't move. You push second time, it won't move. If you just go away for an hour, all of that effort is lost. So you need to continuously push it and push it with whatever power you have. But eventually, it would set itself in motion when the breakthrough moment will come. And then once it moves, it will move all by itself. So enterprise performance is in the same fashion, that you need to keep focus. You need to have focused efforts on adopting innovations as they are coming with clouds, right? Like Gen AI, sustainability, central finance. All of these are important innovations, and it's important to achieve as soon as they come there, right? I'll ask you a question. So how many of you are live on S4HANA? Or you have worked on S4HANA, right? Many of you. How many of you have activated situation handling in S4HANA? One of them. See, this shows the problem. You are live on S4, but innovation adoption is still not there. You are not able to capitalize on all the capabilities that S4HANA or Rise System offers. So cloud mindset is changing that whole paradigm, that focus on adopting innovations versus keeping a status quo, right? It's not about one-time implementation. It's about adopting innovations as they are coming along. And if you were to do that, like a flywheel, it's going to create a value potential which is quite different from the on-premise. So you see 3 graphs here. The top graph shows for the cloud ERP, if you were to adopt the same functionality by cloud and in a more incremental fashion, in a cloud mindset versus on-premise mindset, the value gap will be huge, right? So we have a calculator now which actually quantifies these for our customers to highlight that if you were to adopt innovation continuously versus just upgrading your system once in 5 years, the value gap will be huge. So another question, so how many of you have upgraded your ERP in less than 5 years? Major release, right? 3 of you. How many of you upgrade every 2 years? Okay, that's good to know, yeah. So you can see the upgrade. Most of our customers are stuck in that cycle where they're upgrading not before 5 to 6 years, any major release. And by that time, they have amassed so much innovations, it becomes hard to adopt them in one release, right? Because of change management considerations. And in those 5 years, you have already not achieved all the innovation which are coming in. So if you take an example, financial close, if you have activated universal ledger, right? That's a given when you go to S4. But you haven't adopted intercompany matching, if you haven't adopted SAP cash application, or the predictive open items clearing by AI, then you have sort of lost those opportunity to improve your business further, right? So that's what the cloud mindset brings in. So once we know what's in it for value, I think the next task is that as part of the value realization, focus on what's our as is, how that would transform in to be process, and measure that continuously. So just want to leave it with one example. If you say your current scenario, if you have done financial close process in ECC system, you would notice that 80% of the activities of financial close happen during the close process itself. The mindset shift here is if you were to use universal ledger in S4, those 80% activities are not required anymore because you are using universal ledger, which is a one big table, which has FICO, material ledger, COPA, everything in one table, which is being updated automatically. You could potentially remove those 80% tasks out right from the get-go. So this shows that if you put these visions together in the current versus future, and show it to your stakeholders and put it out there that this is what we are after. And what does that mean in terms of benefit? You see, now you can start seeing productivity improvements, number of FTEs, how much time they're spending. You can save a lot more there. So in conclusion, just to keep it short and simple, same what we discussed before, but what we are hoping for is by adopting all of these innovations, we hope that you can adopt. You could be on the curve on the top versus curve on the bottom, which is about cloud mindset, adopting innovation faster, creating a case for change which is solid, and be able to realize value from your investment. And generate momentum for the flywheel to achieve value from your innovations. So with that, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you have any questions. We have probably 1 or 2 minutes left. Any questions? Okay, everything is clear then.
Great, thank you.